courthouse facades shimmer in the early light as the camera slowly pans over time-worn stone steps and majestic columns. The building stands as a silent sentinel to decades of history, its grandeur juxtaposed against the weight of countless untold stories. A young boy appears at the threshold, his figure small yet imbued with determination. In slow motion, his every step is captured in exquisite detail. The determined set of his jaw, the intensity in his eyes, and the resolute grip on his school bag. Each close-up reveals a profound mix of courage and vulnerability, hinting at a spirit that refuses to yield in the face of injustice. A deep and compelling voice begins to narrate, resonating with authority and emotion. In a courtroom where silence reigned, one brave boy's 3 words shattered injustice. The narration echoes over the slow-motion footage as the boy walks steadily through the grand entrance of the courthouse. The stirring musical score rises in a crescendo, each note underscoring the urgency of the moment and the promise of change. The music and visuals together create an atmosphere laden with anticipation, drawing the viewer into a narrative that is both personal and monumental. A vivid sequence follows, blending dynamic shots of the exterior with close-ups of the boy's focused gaze. His eyes, deep and unyielding, reflect a maturity far beyond his years. The camera captures fleeting moments of emotion on his face, a flicker of determination, a spark of defiance, each frame serving as a prelude to the act of courage that is about to unfold. The voiceover continues. In the midst of a system long marred by prejudice, one simple interruption has the power to alter the course of justice. These words set the tone for what is to come, preparing the audience for an event that transcends individual experience and touches the very fabric of a society steeped in injustice. The narrative then shifts to introduce the heart of the conflict. Inside the stately courtroom, a figure of authority looms large. The camera reveals a judge seated at a raised bench, his expression betraying an air of arrogance and disdain. His eyes, cold and dismissive, scan the courtroom with an unsettling familiarity, a familiarity that has allowed him to perpetuate biased rulings over many years. The juxtaposition of the judge's imperious demeanor with the resolute determination of the young boy creates a stark visual contrast, symbolizing the broader battle between entrenched power and emerging truth. The narrator explains, this is not merely a tale of a single interruption, but the unfolding of a pivotal moment in the ongoing fight for justice. A moment when the quiet strength of a young soul defies a legacy of discrimination, challenging a system that has long suppressed the voices of the oppressed. The stakes are revealed to be far greater than one courageous act. They represent a struggle that spans generations. Hints of historical civil rights battles emerge in archival flashes interwoven with modern-day imagery, reminding viewers of the long journey toward equality. The visual tapestry, rich with symbols of past protests and triumphs, serves as a tribute to those who fought before, linking the boy's act to a broader legacy of resistance. Every frame of the montage is carefully crafted to evoke both the solemnity of history and the immediacy of the present moment. The suspenseful music builds with each passing second, its rhythmic pulses mirroring the heartbeat of a community ready to rise. In a courtroom where injustice was once the norm, today, one boy dares to challenge the silence, the narration intones, its words heavy with meaning and promise. The young boy is not merely an isolated figure. He is a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the smallest voice has the potential to provoke monumental change. As the sequence draws to a close, The camera focuses once more on the determined eyes of the boy as he steps forward into the looming interior of the courthouse. His silhouette, set against the grandeur of the historic building, stands as a testament to the transformative power of truth. The narrator concludes this introduction with a stirring call. Let this story inspire us all to speak out, to stand against injustice, and to believe that every act of courage contributes to the legacy of a fairer tomorrow. The final shot lingers on the boy's resolute face, inviting the audience to reflect on their own roles in the quest for justice. A gentle sunrise illuminates a modest neighborhood, its streets alive with the soft murmur of early morning routines. In a small, warmly lit kitchen, a young boy sits at a table cluttered with school books and breakfast remnants. His eyes sparkle with curiosity and determination as he diligently works through a math problem. This is Marcus, a bright and courageous child whose heart has been nurtured by a family devoted to fairness and justice. His mother, with tender care, prepares his favorite meal while his father explains the importance of standing up for what is right. Each word they share builds within him a quiet strength that has been carefully cultivated since his earliest days. A vibrant montage unfolds displaying snippets of Marcus's daily life, scenes of laughter in a sunlit classroom, gentle guidance during homework sessions at home, and moments of playful camaraderie with friends in a nearby park illustrate the environment that has shaped his character. In these brief but powerful vignettes, viewers witness a child who, despite his tender age, embodies a profound sense of integrity and moral courage. His teachers commend him for his inquisitive nature, while his neighbors often remark on his thoughtful demeanor and willingness to help others. Through these images, the audience is invited to understand that Marcus is not merely a boy caught in the midst of extraordinary circumstances. He is the product of a community that values truth and empathy above all. Family interviews and voiceover reflections provide a deeper glimpse into his inner world. His mother recalls, with gentle pride, Marcus has always possessed a rare sense of justice. Even when he was very young, he would ask why someone was treated unfairly, never accepting injustice as a part of life. His father adds, "We have always taught him that every voice matters, and that even the smallest act of courage can inspire change." These heartfelt testimonies anchor Marcus's character in a legacy of resilience and hope. The narrative here is not simply about a child's upbringing. It is about the transmission of values across generations, a quiet but enduring force that prepares one for moments of extraordinary challenge. Shifting the focus to the broader picture, the narrative now unfolds against a backdrop of systemic struggle. The camera pans across archival footage of civil rights marches, solemn memorials, and faded newspaper headlines that speak of long-past battles for equality. A measured voice explains, for decades, the legal system has been marred by inequities. Racial injustice has been embedded in the very fabric of our society, and those in power have often exploited this system to silence voices that dare to speak the truth. These images serve as a poignant reminder that the fight for civil rights is not confined to history. It continues to echo in modern-day courtrooms and communities alike. The narration delves deeper, providing context to the case that is unfolding within the courthouse. The courtroom where this incident occurs is more than a venue for legal proceedings. It is a microcosm of a larger societal battle. Here, the prejudices of the past intersect with the hopes of the present. Every ruling, every decision, has implications that stretch far beyond the walls of this building. This explanation sets the stage for understanding that the struggle Marcus is about to engage in is not his alone. It is a fight for justice that spans generations, a call to action that resonates with those who remember the hard-fought victories of the civil rights era. The visual journey continues with scenes of community gatherings, where older citizens recount memories of protests and significant legal battles. Their voices, measured and reflective, remind viewers of the sacrifices that paved the way for today's advances. We remember the days when speaking out meant risking everything, an elderly community leader says in a soft yet determined tone. Now, when a young boy dares to challenge authority, it rekindles the spirit of those who fought for our rights. In these interwoven images and voices, the narrative paints a vivid portrait of Marcus's world, a world where personal growth is intertwined with a collective history of struggle, and where his individual act of courage is destined to contribute to a much larger movement. The community, the history, and the legal system converge, setting the stage for an act that promises to reverberate far beyond the confines of a single courtroom. The courtroom exudes a solemn gravity, its walls steeped in decades of tradition and authority. Within this austere chamber, every detail is meticulously arranged to convey the formality of the legal process. High ceilings and imposing columns frame the scene, while muted lighting casts long shadows that seem to underscore the weight of history and expectation. The atmosphere is thick with tension. Every whisper, every rustle of paper resonates like a prelude to an inevitable turning point. The murmurs of the audience blend with the quiet hum of the air conditioning, creating an ambient sound that heightens the anticipation of what is to come. At the center of this charged environment sits Judge Aldridge, a figure whose very presence embodies an unsettling mixture of authority and bias. His gavel rests on a polished podium, a silent symbol of control, yet his demeanor reveals small, significant cues of prejudice. As he listens to the proceedings, his eyes narrow ever so slightly when addressing members of the marginalized community. A fleeting smirk crosses his face when a black witness offers testimony, and his tone, though measured, carries an undercurrent of disdain. These subtle behaviors, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye, prepare the audience for a dramatic rupture, a rupture that promises to challenge the long-standing inequities embedded within these hallowed halls. The camera lingers on the faces of the spectators, capturing expressions of quiet apprehension and growing disbelief. Close-ups reveal eyes widening in shock, lips parting in silent protest, and hands gripping the edges of benches as if bracing for a storm. Ambient sounds of shuffling and soft gasps punctuate the silent buildup, each visual and auditory cue layering the moment with a sense of impending change. The courtroom, with its blend of historic solemnity and underlying unrest, becomes a microcosm of a society on the brink of transformation. Then, as the session reaches its peak, the air shifts with an almost tangible electricity. In a decisive moment that shatters the heavy silence, Marcus, the young boy whose courage has been nurtured by a lifetime of values, stands abruptly. His small frame moves with unexpected speed as he strides toward the judge's bench. The ambient murmur of the courtroom falls away as all eyes fix on him, the audience collectively holding its breath in anticipation of the imminent act of defiance. The pivotal moment arrives in a heartbeat. Marcus halts a few steps before Judge Aldridge, his gaze locked onto the man whose authority has long been tainted by bias. With a clarity and force that belies his age, he speaks the three words that slice through the tension like a blade. "You are racist." The words reverberate throughout the courtroom, each syllable charged with truth and unyielding conviction. For a heartbeat, time appears to freeze. The echo of his statement hovers in the air, and the entire room is suspended in a state of shocked disbelief. Every face in the courtroom is transformed by the impact of those three words. Judge Aldridge's features contort in stunned silence. His authoritative facade crumbles as his eyes widen in unanticipated vulnerability. Jurors, lawyers, and onlookers alike are frozen, their expressions a mosaic of shock, indignation, and reluctant awe. The raw emotion in the room is palpable. It is as if the very foundations of the institution are trembling under the weight of a truth long suppressed. The scene is rendered in vivid slow motion. The brief moment when Marcus's words hang in the balance, the judge's frozen expression, and the ripple of stunned silence that spreads like wildfire among the attendees. Every detail is captured with meticulous precision. Close-up shots of trembling hands, the subtle shifting of a gaze, the slow unfurling of a frown. These cinematic details crystallize the transformative power of the moment, ensuring that its emotional impact resonates deeply with every viewer. In the wake of this interruption, the courtroom transforms into a crucible of raw emotion and uncertain hope. Marcus stands, his posture steadfast and defiant, a beacon of truth amid the turmoil. His courageous act, articulated in just three simple words, shatters the oppressive silence and calls into question the very legitimacy of the biased authority that has long reigned. The audience, caught in the aftermath of that singular moment, begins to understand that change is not only possible, but inevitable, when truth is spoken with unwavering conviction. The courtroom explodes into chaos. In an instant, the silence that once held the room captive shatters into a cacophony of gasps, murmurs, and hurried footsteps. The atmosphere, previously thick with regulated tension, now vibrates with outrage and disbelief. Papers flutter from trembling hands, and a murmur of protest ripples through the crowd. Legal experts explain that the case has set a precedent that will not be easily ignored. One respected analyst states, "This incident is not an isolated moment of defiance. It is the beginning of a reckoning. It proves that even those who have long abused their authority can be held accountable when truth is spoken." The imagery of the judge being escorted out, combined with archival courtroom sketches and follow-up press conferences, creates a powerful visual narrative that the era of impunity is coming to an end. In the days that follow, media outlets broadcast extensive coverage of the case. Television news segments and online documentaries illustrate the broader implications for the legal system. Experts discuss how this case is likely to influence future policies, forcing a re-examination of judicial conduct and bias. Community leaders and civil rights advocates speak with measured urgency about the need for systemic reform. The law must serve justice, and not the interests of those in power, one community leader asserts. Today, we witness a turning point where accountability is no longer optional. These interviews, interwoven with visuals of courtroom sketches and press conferences, highlight that the ripple effect of one brave act can challenge even the most entrenched systems of injustice. The legal repercussions are matched by a profound shift in the social landscape. The community, once mired in resignation and fear, begins a process of healing and empowerment. In neighborhood centers and town hall meetings, citizens gather to share their relief and hope for a brighter future. Among the crowd, older community members recall the struggles of previous generations. An elderly activist, his voice steady and resolute, remarks, "I have seen many battles in my lifetime, and today reminds me of the courage we once had. This boy has given us a reason to believe that change is not only possible, but inevitable." His words resonate deeply, evoking memories of past civil rights movements and the victories that were hard-earned through sacrifice. At home, Marcus is surrounded by his family, whose faces now shine with a mixture of pride and cautious optimism. His mother embraces him, her eyes moist with tears of joy and relief. "He has done what many of us have dreamed of for so long," she explains softly. His father, a man who has long fought against injustice, speaks with quiet conviction. "This is a lesson for all of us. Every time we remain silent, we allow injustice to thrive. Today, Marcus has reminded us that our voices matter." The heartfelt interviews with his family members, captured in intimate close-ups, serve as a testament to the lasting impact of his brave interruption. The community itself begins to change. Local news reports show public forums and community gatherings where citizens engage in open dialogue about racism and justice. A montage of these events depicts individuals of all ages and backgrounds coming together, united by the shared belief that every voice is essential in the fight for equality. In one particularly stirring interview, a teacher recalls, "I have seen my students grow up in a world where silence was once the norm. Today, they are learning that even the smallest voice can spark a movement." This sentiment is echoed by several community leaders, whose reflections reinforce the message that personal courage can inspire collective transformation. As the screen fades to a series of images, a judge being held accountable, families embracing, community members uniting, the narrative of accountability and hope is etched into the fabric of society. The visual montage concludes with a final, powerful image, a slow-motion shot of Marcus, standing with quiet dignity, surrounded by a crowd of supporters, his small frame symbolizing the immense power of standing up for what is right. As the final chords of the stirring musical score fade, the camera pans slowly over the courthouse where the day's events have unfolded. The scene transforms into a reflective montage of the journey, a journey that began with a single defiant interruption and culminated in a moment of justice that shook the foundations of an unjust system. The reflective voiceover begins softly, its tone measured and heartfelt. From the moment a young boy spoke truth in the face of deep-rooted prejudice, the course of history was irrevocably altered. In that powerful instance, when his 3 simple words shattered the silence, a new chapter in the pursuit of justice was written. The camera moves over images of the courtroom frozen in astonishment, capturing the stunned expressions of the judge, the resolute gaze of the boy, and the collective realization that change had begun. The voiceover continues. We witness the transformation of authority into accountability, as a system long steeped in bias was forced to confront its own failures. The fall of a corrupt judge is not merely a legal victory, but a triumph of truth over suppression. These words are paired with visuals of the judge being escorted away, intercut with scenes of community members nodding in approval, their faces lit by a mixture of relief and newfound hope. The reflective narrative deepens as the montage shifts to slower, more intimate visuals. A close-up shows the boy, now a symbol of courage, his eyes filled with both the weight of his responsibility and the light of a determined future. Images of family embraces and community gatherings appear, reinforcing that the boy's act of bravery resonates far beyond the walls of that courtroom. It is a reminder that one brave act can kindle the flames of change, inspiring others to rise and speak against injustice. Each step we take, no matter how small, carries the potential to reshape our world, the voiceover declares with unwavering conviction. As the sequence transitions into its final segment, the screen is filled with evocative visuals. A slow sunset over the grand courthouse, the sky painted in hues of gold and purple, symbolic of hope and renewal. The narrator's tone shifts seamlessly into a final call to action, urging the audience to reflect on the power of courage in their own lives. Let this story be a beacon for every individual who has ever felt silenced by the weight of injustice. Remain vigilant, stand up, speak out, for in each of us lies the strength to challenge what is wrong and to support those who dare to change the world. The imagery intensifies as the camera reveals a diverse montage of community members united in resolve. A montage that includes elderly citizens sharing wisdom, young people raising their voices in protest, and families embracing one another in solidarity. In a world that is often marred by inequality, the spirit of courage and determination remains our most potent weapon against oppression. When we join together, our voices merge into a chorus of hope and resilience that can dismantle even the most entrenched systems of discrimination. The screen slowly fades to a final image of the young boy walking confidently away from the courthouse, his silhouette set against the radiant glow of the setting sun. The narrator concludes with a stirring invitation. Share your stories of courage and justice. Let us build a dialogue that spans generations, inspiring continuous change and forging a future where truth and fairness prevail. As the final words echo, the screen fades to black, leaving viewers with a lingering sense of pride, hope, and an enduring call to action. Every moment of bravery is celebrated, every voice that rises against injustice honored. In this shared journey, the power of one becomes the power of many, lighting the way toward a more just and compassionate tomorrow.